Well, I have some Brazilian plague rats questions. First one is why did you choose the Victorian age for your scenario?
Um, it was because it corresponds very directly to not only experiences that I've had in my own life um, with being a girl in general and all the things good and mostly bad that go along with that, and also my life in the mental health care system and how that really hasn't changed almost at all for the last 150, 200 years. And so it related to me directly, and that was the beginning of medicine as we know it, and definitely psychiatric care as we know it, and psychology as we know it, and all of those things were experiences that I was really just enduring and finding. I just thought, well, this is insane. Like, I'm not insane. That's insane. And finding the root of that. Where did that start? Why? That's just my overall question on anything is, like, why are things the way they are? Because it's interesting. And so once I looked into the origins of my own mind, like my own kind of mental illness, if you want to call it that, which I guess you have to, but I'm doing a pretty good job, like, making it into something fun, I think. And then realizing once you find how that corresponds to you personally or me personally, then you realize also the direct, amazingly shocking correlations between our whole present time and that, in that what was being experienced as far as like a social change, an uprising, the Industrial Revolution, for God's sake, and it's like almost overnight you have fucking electricity and trains and people that are out of jobs because of new technology. And God, I actually just got chills because when I feel the puzzle pieces getting put together, it just freaks me out. I love it. Ah! So God, I'm weird. All right, anyway, so it's really about that, is seeing all these correlations between that time and now, about a turn of things, also, diseases that we don't know how the hell to cure right now, and how they were just dealing with things like I'm probably swearing way too much, right? Thanks. The fucking plague. I mean, that's why we're making that into such kind of a iconic part of the show of the world, is because there's this disease that everybody's terrified of, and there is no cure for it at that time. It was an absolute, I mean, it wiped out 3/4 of the entirety of Europe, whatever, 500, 600 years ago. And when, during the Victorian times, they thought there were some, isolated incidents of it, and they thought it was coming back. And the terror set in, and the paranoia set in. And everybody, like the doctors, were trying to compete to see who would be the first to make this cure. And like in the book, the person to make the cure will essentially have ultimate power. That in itself is scary. And then you get all the people that are, artificially, and like now we have how many pills, how many drugs are just given to people, for all the people who really do need something, who actually don't, or given a drug that does. I mean, like I've experienced, I mean, my brain doesn't even work the same way as it used to a few years ago because of being completely drugged out on the amnesia drug, which is what, when you go to the asylum and you have a really bad time, what they give you to try to literally erase from your mind what just happened. This is modern day, real life, state of the art hospitals. That's what's going on now, and worse. And that was a very long answer to your short question, which is, it's really about the parallels. That's why it has to be this time. And it's just showing this against this and seeing like they completely match. And you can learn something from that, because I honestly believe it's only by looking to what happened yesterday that you can ever prepare for what's happening tomorrow, because history, if we know one thing, is like that, and it goes in circles, and that will never change. So all we can hope for is to do slightly better the next time around. And there's a lot of work to do. Yeah, so it's time for girls and boys to start fighting like a girl, because what that means is fighting without mercy, fighting to the death. I mean, what happens when, a mother's child is like caught under a car, inhuman strength, and she can lift that fucking car, and that happens. and just it's a term that also has to do with some kind of martial arts fighting, which is that some friends of mine that are instructors in that field, they have shared with me, to my great surprise, that when like their master in some cases has asked them to just leave the rules aside, just do away with like the honor and the formalities of karate or something, where, you know, there are things you shouldn't really do, like in any normal fight on the street. There's a couple of things, I think we all know what we're talking about, that are kind of like, you don't really do that, you know, like and at times when they would want them to just fight, like leave it all, just fight basically to the death, the master would say, just fucking fight like a girl. Because there are no rules, right? If you're being attacked, are you thinking about, well, that's dishonorable to kick someone in the crotch? No, you're not thinking about that. You're going to tear eyes out, you're going to do, and that's just something that is taking like an ultimate derogatory term. You know, you fight like a girl, you throw like a girl, and just being like, I don't know if I can do that either, but really just we're taking that back. Kind of like, you know, we've been pretty good at taking the word bitch back, about taking some other terms, and now we're taking back that, because ultimately we fight a lot harder and we can fight to the death.
Well, funny fact, she is related to Alice Liddell, the one from Wonderland, right?
Yes, you do if you have the book. Yes, this is true.
Yeah, and I asked you on email, I think you forgot.
Oh, about that? Yeah. And it is absolutely true. I'm just shocked every time like people know these personal facts, even though I've published them. It's still, I forget that this is actually stuff that people know now, and that's like the side effects of this book finally being out, that I haven't fully, because it hasn't been out that long, you know, widely, realizing that, wow, now people kind of know everything. And I knew that would happen because obviously I wrote it, but I also knew that it would be very odd. And I haven't really felt the full effects because it's so new. And yeah, but I know it's going to happen. I'm also waiting for the kind of backlash against some things, like things that people may not agree with. And yeah, you know what I'm talking about.
Yeah, I totally know. Another funny fact is that you do all the costumes for all the girls and the sets also, right?
This is true. Although I must say that before this tour, we had only a couple of days to get together and really work on, you know, repairing costumes. And like, oh my God, I should tell you about the costume cleaning process. That is massive, because you cannot put these things in a washing machine. You cannot dry clean these things. It's like you get in a tub and you scrub. Like, how old school is that? That is Victorian. And so they all helped. I have to give them complete credit in like fixing these things up, and they're very, very good at gluing on the Swarovski crystals here. They're absolute experts at that. They're actually probably doing that backstage right now, literally, because we always lose a bunch during each show, just craziness, and we just bump into each other and things go flying. And so backstage, almost before every show, that is what's happening. I don't think anyone knows that, but it's them with the glue and the crystals, just like putting things over things and just making things as sparkly as possible for you, the audience, because that is how much we care. I'm going to give you the most glittery experience possible.
I think we've made our 20 minutes. Is that okay? Should we go on? Yeah, we can go on.
Okay, so yeah, that's another thing. I know about it, but I think people don't know. So could you tell us the story about the heart on your cheek?
Yeah, I'm trying to make it as concise as possible because, you know, I'm not very good at that. But it's something that I've been doing. It's not a tattoo. It's something that I paint on my face. I know it seems really childish and silly, and it is, but for just years, pretty much every day. And I do it as a sort of ritual. This is why it's never going to actually be tattooed on, is the importance of it is the ritual of spending that time in the mirror, just like, I mean, it goes on pretty fast, like 30 seconds every day, because sometimes that's all you're going to get with just you and with yourself and looking at yourself. And it's a reminder of almost the strength of your own kind of human fragility, of saying, I mean, the truth is I never thought I had a heart until it was broken. And I think everybody can probably relate to that. And this almost reminds me, like, you are not a magical unicorn in the sky as much as you might want to believe that you are. You are a human being, and you can be ruined just like anybody else. And almost by painting that on my face, kind of wearing your heart on your sleeve, so to speak, that almost reminds me to be stronger and take better care of myself, knowing that you are not invincible. So it's a sign of almost strength in your weakness.
And well, you have been to so many difficult things. People who read your book, they know about it, and
I still want it to not be like a sad book because it's really about the like adventure and the sisterhood and all that too. But yeah,
but people get to know all the bad parts of your story, and there are so many people that relate to that have been to similar things, and and I wanted to know if you have like this something to say to people, like what people should do if they find themselves in a hard situation like yours.
To be honest, I wish that I had the answer, because if I did, I wouldn't be writing a book. I'd be like out there publicizing what to do. And when you're dealing with situations of like your own illness and seeking help and all of that, I think that's the problem, is that there isn't an answer. And sometimes by writing a book or just talking about it or making jokes about it, which is honestly like, or music, yes, but even the music is sarcastic, and the stage show is a farce. You know, it's a vaudeville, it's a burlesque show, which the meaning of those words is a social commentary that's done in a sort of rude, sarcastic way to point out actual things that are going on and are important. But you do it in a way that is enjoyable enough for people to actually absorb. You know, nobody wants to be preached to. I don't. It's annoying. And so if I just go out and say, this is what should happen, you know, nobody's going to listen to that. But if I make a joke about it, or I make it funny, or I make it sarcastic, or I make it, God forbid, sexy, then people are going to pay attention. And I feel like I can do a lot more good that way. And sometimes it isn't about having the perfect ultimate solution to a massive problem. It's just about asking the questions or pointing out that there is a problem, because it's going to take a lot more than my own brain to solve like a situation that's built up for hundreds of years of people being treated a way that was completely inappropriate to their condition.
Besides looking like this on stage, you already look a little different when you're walking around on streets, right?
Sometimes I actually do go out like this just to see what happens.
What happened?
Okay, what happened the last time I did this, which was not too long ago, is it starts by if I haven't been on stage for a while and I really start to miss it and get antsy because I am so comfortable and happy up there. It's like where I belong. And so I will put on like a show costume and go out and just walk around and see what's going to happen, see people's reactions to things. And it's really more for me like learning what people are thinking, and especially like the reactions of children are so amazing. And the reactions of the parents with the children, like I'll go by and the children will start screaming like, look, mommy, a circus person. And that is actually very flattering to me because it's kind of what we're doing. And the weirdest part is when people, they don't know, of course, they don't know who I am, but they assume that I'm somebody important or who does something. Like they should know, and maybe they'll figure like they'll Google something and they'll find out later, but they should really get an autograph now. So I'll end up like in a park or something signing dozens of autographs for people that have no idea who I am, but they think maybe they should. So I end up doing that. And then the best part, and kind of uncomfortable for me, really, is when parents will give me their babies to hold because they want a picture. Does that happen to you? Yeah. What is up with that? Because it's like, I'm very trustworthy. I'm not going to drop your baby. And yet, why the hell would you trust me? I'm a crazy person in a pink fucking glittery suit. Why should you trust me? That's ridiculous.